We're live here at the Eye, but this interview is going to be just a little bit different. Actually, Tom Karst from the Packer is here with me. Everybody knows the Packer, everybody knows Tom, how important the words are that the Packer produces. So what he's asked to do is turn the tables, and he's going to interview me.
Well,
Welcome,
Phil,
Tom.
appreciate the chance to talk to you. You're so involved here with the cook-off and everything that's going on, and plus you presented a very intriguing and interesting presentation last night about the top trends of 2018. You know, you talked about a lot of things, about the consumer, about trends at retail. What floats to the top as far as the top 2 or 3 that are most relevant perhaps to this industry, to the fresh produce industry?
Well, certainly there's no question that for me, farming and technofoodology are the 2 most important. As we move into a whole new era of farming, where we see vertical farms in office buildings, where a farm doesn't have to be, a potato farm doesn't have to be in the middle of the country, but could be in downtown New York City, and we really eliminate all that transportation cost, all the waste costs and so on. That's something I think every potato farmer should be aware of and looking at. And then when we look at biohacking and neuronutrition, you know, so much research is being done right now about nutrition on potatoes, and it's not thought of as this starchy food, but really as a performance enhancer, as helping athletes, as more nutritious. I think that those 2 topics are really critical. And then technofoodology, as we look at cellular agriculture and all the new sciences that are being created to develop products, everything from meat, and I'm sure it'll come to potatoes. This audience needs to be aware and focused on all that. And I'm sure at the Packer, you're going to keep them up to speed.
Well, and you talk about the foods that have been designed to be benefit to our health in a way that points us toward GMO food, perhaps. At the same time, there's consumer hesitation about GMO. How do you think that's going to proceed? I mean, at one hand, the consumers want something specifically tailored to them, and maybe that could be delivered by GMO. On the other hand, they're not so sure about it. How do you think that'll look in the future?
Yeah, I think that the conversation of GMO is practically over. And the reason for that is that the technology is practically over. I think if we look at cellular agriculture, and certainly we've got the 7 crops and they're going to continue to be GMO, but I think that cellular agriculture and genetic modification, where we go into traits and we turn them off and on versus modifying them,
right.
I think that certainly that's more palatable to consumers and also to a lot of farmers who really don't want their property, their land to be contaminated by GMOs for other crops. So I really do think that the buzz about GMOs have decreased, and these other technologies are going to increase, and it's going to be a non-issue.
So that deals with the consumer, and the consumer is really, you know, dictating where the market's going to go, I guess, and that's where you see it.
I mean, if you look at the hundreds of millions of dollars that were spent to fight GMO labeling and failed, you know, the reason they failed, even though the science does show that GMOs are not harmful, the reason it failed is consumers didn't want it. You know, they want it to be labeled. They want to know the difference and make their own decisions. It's not a science issue, it's an emotional issue. And I think all food, especially potatoes, are emotional because we consume them. We love them. They're heartwarming. They're there from our birth. So it's very different than, you know, a new high-tech food like Soylent, you know, which people drink for all their nutrients that was concocted in a lab. That's not potatoes.
Are consumers going to be more on this convenience track in the years ahead? Are we ever going to see consumers spend the amount of time preparing food maybe as they did in the past, or are we just on a course that, you know, we've got to have convenience to market food? It's got to be part of the elements of what the product offers.
I absolutely think that's going to happen and continue. But I also think that we're going to see more convenience and more technology in our home kitchens that are going to speed up things.
Right, right.
So now we've got, apps that connect to frying pans. They cook at the right temperature so that there's no waste, that there's no overcooking.
Yeah.
We're going into an era of smart refrigerators. So that refrigerator or that cupboard will automatically be able to automatically replenish and things like that. So I think we're always going to look for convenience, but the time is going to be compressed because of technology in our home kitchens.
Interesting, interesting. And finally, I guess just to get your thoughts on retailing, it's such a fast-moving sector. And you're right on top of it. How fast will consumers move to order food, order fresh produce and have it delivered to their home, and what does that mean for brick and mortar?
Sure. Well, right now, online delivery is about 4% of total sales. We estimate that it'll probably go up to about 10%, never reach more than that over the next 5 years or so. But it's going to be different. And, those big services like Instacart and Shipt and so on, I think that's going to evolve. What we're really seeing is we're seeing these smaller local delivery companies like Good Eggs in San Francisco, like Thrive in San Francisco, like Milk and Eggs in LA, that specialize in products that you can't find elsewhere. So they don't have the 40,000 products that are in a Kroger. They might have 200 products, but they're working directly with farmers. If you look at the app that New York now has, Farm Fresh, that you and I as a consumer can connect and buy directly from a farmer and bypass that retail connection, I think we're going to see more of that. So it wouldn't surprise me that a lot of these local services are going to reach out to potato farmers and just have specific crops that are only available through their outlet.
Right.
And I think they're going to be very strong. But that big monolith delivery service that can deliver 40, 50,000 products, for me, that's going to be dead in the next couple of years.
Interesting, interesting. And just a quick note about the cook-off. Have you enjoyed being up there?
Oh, I love it every year.
Yeah.
I mean, we started with food trucks. Then last year, Potatoes USA flew in chefs that they work with globally. This year, we had folks like Simplot and McCain up there. They're culinary chefs. It's always great, and it's always amazing to me and to the audience, what they can do with potatoes that you and I would only hope to be able to do.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. So.
It is.
Again, thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Tom. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
That's it. Stay tuned because the winner of the Spud Nation Throwdown is coming up.